Man, back to talk about it again, and this time I'm not feeling so hopeful or excited about this whole situation. So, the other day I was going around suggested playlists or suggested videos on YouTube, and I came across David's, that dude in blues videos, and it seems like he has finally dedicated a chunk of his channel to just talking about things, which I think is a great thing. It's great for me because I haven't watched any of his car reviews in like forever. And I'm always looking for things to watch that I don't have to, videos that I can listen to that I don't have to watch. So just listening to somebody talk is great because, at work, I can't be watching a video while I'm working on a truck, but I can listen because, I work alone at nights and it's just empty, quiet, inevitably leads to me just being in my head all the time. So anyway, watch one of his videos and he was talking about how he was thinking the Acura Integra could be boring. I'm like, no, I don't think so, not at all, because it's a no-brainer to me that the reason why they brought back the Integra now is because they realize with the Supra and the new Z and the Corvette and all these other cars that are coming out performance-wise, that performance cars has a huge market, and that with the Type R, they've proven that the manual transmission can still sell. And I think that they figured this is a great time to bring an enthusiast car back that we can sell for more than a Type R, and it'll probably sell well. So, my initial thought being this response to the Type R that we'll most likely get an Acura Integra Type R. Now, other people think it'll be a Type S because they're following along the lines of the RSX or whatever, but I don't think that's the case. If they were gonna just call it the Acura Integra Type S or Type S, why the fuck would they bring back the Acura stamp and not just call it the RSX again? Because remember that the brand Acura in the United States is, rebadging Hondas, and they give them all like these fucking weird ass letter coatings instead of just calling them like Civic or Integra or Accord. I even believe that one of the Acuras that they came out with, maybe the TSX, it was like a European Accord or some shit. Don't remember. Don't kill me. Don't hold me to that. Don't hold my feet to the fire to that one because I'm not 100% sure. Like the Accord Euro R or something like that. That's what I'm thinking about. But anyway, we get a new, and this is kind of frustrating too because I think the first spy shots for the supposed Integra came out like in early this year, and like when I saw it, I just kind of dismissed it. I'm like, that's not going to be an Integra. They're not bringing the Integra back. And then last month they were like, yeah, we're bringing the Integra back. They fucking showed, they did an official reveal, and it is a fucking headlight, and it has got Integra. So I'm like, wow, they are bringing the Integra back. And of course, I was like, of course they're bringing the Integra back. The fucking Type R is selling like mad. Like a used Type R with 20,000 miles is selling like $10,000 over MSRP, So of course they're going to sell these cars. So I got excited and hopeful. But we get to the second promotional picture, which is kind of frustrating at this point because, like, you motherfuckers are really milking this shit out of this. You're going to really, like, puzzle piece the car. What is this, like a fucking Marvel movie now where we're doing slow tease reveals? People aren't going to get that excited about the fucking car. But the thing that kind of fucked it for me is in the promotional material they use, you can very clearly see that this car is a sedan. Man, oh man. When I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, I remember saying that I would never buy a sedan. Never, ever, ever, ever would I do it. As I got older, and this wasn't an addition to kids thing because I had a year-old son at the time. And I was like, I'm not buying a sedan. But time went by, I started to grow more partial to sedans. Some of these cars, they look better. The production models look better as a sedan than it does a coupe. The 8th, 9th, and 10th gen SIs, in my opinion, look better as a coupe. Look better as a sedan than they do as a coupe. As a matter of fact, the fucking 8th gen SI is pretty much two completely different cars. Wow, I'm sorry, I got stopped here. A new camera here, and it's giving me some kind of weird warning. I'll talk about that later. So the sedans started to grow more partial on me. And as far as the older car goes, I like the EG sedan. I like the EK sedan. I like the CD5 sedan. But one fucking car that I still hold like a great amount of hate for is the Integra sedan. It is god awful ugly. Like the body lines do not match the extra two doors. It's fucking gross. I will never own one. If somebody were to give me one for free, I would strip it to a bare chassis, sell it as parts, and junk the goddamn rest of it. Piece of shit, ugly fucking thing. And now the promotional picture for the Integra shows us a fucking sedan. Now, if you're thinking, Chris, that doesn't mean that all of the cars are going to be sedans. This is true. My first thought, because David made a little post on YouTube. He's like, hey, what did I fucking tell you guys? This is going to be a boring four-door piece of shit. And I'm like, no, man, no way. And then I started looking at the spy photos. They're all coupes. All the spy shots with the camouflage, they're all coupes. I'm like, okay, well, they're showing, they're testing coupes, right? So there's that. So that doesn't necessarily mean that just because we're seeing a four-door in the promotional images that's what it's going to be only, exclusively, right? But here's the thing, right? When you're coming out with your promotional images of the car, you really, you put everything into that. Like, it's the same thing like when you look at the McDonald's advertisement and you see the cheeseburger and like, oh my God, that looks huge, it looks amazing, it's perfect. And then you go to the drive-thru and some fucking 19-year-old literally slaps some shit together that's been sitting in a fucking box for an hour and gives you that, and it's fucking gross and disgusting and nowhere near what you expected it to be, right? So if they're leaning into the sedan for the market, that means that they're targeting a different audience over like the sports enthusiasts, I think. And I think you can get away with having the Civic sedan, the Civic Type R being a sedan or whatnot. And like obviously the coupes weren't selling very well, which is why they literally discontinued the Civic Coupe and they're going to do Civic sedans. But I think that if you're going to have an exclusive sports car as the Acura Integra is, and then it would not, I don't think you would market it as a fucking sedan, right? So my initial thoughts being that, okay, so the Type R is doing really well. I think that we're going to get a manual transmission and we're going to get an upgraded fancy version of the Type R. Like we're probably, I was hoping that maybe we'd get a 2.4 liter, a K24 or whatever. But I'm completely, I wouldn't be surprised if they reuse the K20, the K20 that's currently in the Type R. I mean, car manufacturers like to reuse the same platform as much as possible. It saves on cost, production, and development, and making parts and all that stuff. So if they use the K20 Type R, and let's say they bump it from was it rated at 305, maybe they bump it up to 355 or 360 horsepower. I don't think that would be very difficult to do. So bump up the power a little bit and keep the same power unit, and then add an extra $10,000 or $15,000 to the MSRP. Keep it in the low $40,000 range as entry, maybe $45,000 if you want to buy extra amenities or whatnot. Okay, I can see that. I can see that being the case. But I think that maybe it's a possibility that I've tackled this from the wrong angle. I've tackled this as a upgraded Type R because I would believe that the Type R Integra would definitely come. But instead of maybe this being like an upgraded Type R, maybe it's a downplayed NSX. Now, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the cost of the NSX, or I hope it's not anywhere near the cost of the NSX, and I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the performance of the NSX. But maybe instead of giving us a manual transmission and bumping up performance a bit more with a fancier car and a fancier interior, because the Type R is kind of lacking. The paint is kind of whack. It's weak. Can't handle much damage, and the interior isn't the best either on the Type R. Let's be honest, right? There's a reason why the MSRP is $35,000 or $36,000. It's not a very expensively built car. It just performs well. But maybe they're trying to be like, hey, the enthusiasts are buying cars. The Corvette is an automatic. The NSX is automatic, sells well. The Supra is an automatic. Although I don't believe the Supra's selling well. I don't think it is. Maybe they're thinking, well, let's just fucking, make another hybrid, but a more cost-effective hybrid. So instead of getting a manual trans, we get an automatic-only car that they lean more towards a sedan, and it's another hybrid like the NSX, just doesn't produce as much power. So we might be getting something like that instead of an upgraded Type R and or upgraded Civic Type R, and I'm kind of disappointed about that. If I'm going to buy a hybrid or something that's strictly automatic, I would want it to be insanely powerful. There's only a couple cars on the market that I would still be okay to just give up my manual for and go for a paddle shifter. The C8 Corvette, NSX, possibly the Supra. I can see me driving those cars as a paddle shifter. I have to, it's despite the fact that I'm not getting used to the idea of the electric cars being the dominant car on the market, and they're not yet. They're not yet. There are all the manufacturers are wanting to push for that. So in this day and age, I'll take any shifting that I can over none at all, right? So if I have to go paddle shifter, I'm okay with that. I can always build a project car with a manual trans. I've got Mass 2000. I've got other plans after that, so that's gonna be fine. But I don't know if I'd want to spend that kind of big money with it out of being like a real legit like fast car. Like the Corvette, I know that's an argument, maybe an argument for some people whether it's an actual supercar or not. But I think with the dawn of the C8, I think the last thing holding some people on the fence of calling the Corvette a supercar was the looks, and I think now it very much looks like a supercar. So I would say the Corvette's a supercar. It's a very affordable supercar, which is why I've got my eye on it. And if you're thinking one of these things like, well, like, oh, I know there are a lot of fans that are going to just blindly defend this thing regardless of how it comes out or what it looks like. And I know that one of the arguments back in the day used to be like, why the fuck are you arguing about a car, like you not liking a car when you're probably never going to buy it? Well, once upon a time that may have been the case, but I am their prime demographic as of now. Last year I had a 10th Gen SI, which I traded this year for a Civic Type R, and it took me about 3 months to start thinking about buying another car again. At this point there's like two things that I'm trading out on a regular, and that's my cars and my cell phones. So there's a very large part of me that wants to keep the FK8, ride it out till I pay it off and I own it, and once I pay it off and own it, then start modding the car, start building the engine, all that stuff. I'm loath to build anything on the car while I'm paying for it, mainly because of trade-in. Not because so much that I'm worried about getting repossessed or whatever. It's just like, why would I? I'm still making payments on this car. There's always a chance that I trade it out. Why the fuck would I modify it and then have to switch everything back over if I don't want to lose any money? So there's that. If next year, I think that not next year, but the year after, I could probably be potentially in the market to do a trade out. I'm see if I can hold out and pay off the car and keep it so that way I can just start off brand new with a brand new loan. Hopefully I can get through it and do that. But if I can't, just in case, and I start looking again, it would be cool to have the Acura Integra as some kind of a choice. I think although honestly at this point, I think the main thing that holds me to not wanting to trade out the Type R, the main thing is I have the S2000 and I have the Type R. And as far as unicorn hunting for USDM available Hondas, the only thing else I would need to really complete that collection would be the NSX, which right now is still, I would say, an unattainable car for me, being 6 figures plus. 60, 70, maybe even $80,000. I could probably still afford that without much effort, especially once I get a little bit deeper into my payments for the Type R. But I don't know if I can afford 6-figure car payments. I don't know if I could do that. Which would suck, because if you're looking at the NSX and you're looking at the C8 Corvette, the C8 Corvette's like a no-brainer to go with. So it does kind of suck that it's that I would like to get an NSX, but I think that it's just out of my pocket range. But it doesn't have to be out of my pocket range forever. There's always a chance that, give another half decade or whatnot, I might be able to pick up a used one with 50,000 or lower miles, in that price range that I would be able to afford. But even then, it goes back to like, would I want to buy a used car with some mileage on it, or just buy a brand new C8? I don't know. Anyway, it's just some thoughts that I had run through my head. They're disappointing. I want to know what the fuck you guys think. Would you guys be interested in buying a hybrid or a strictly electrical Integra? Let me know in the comments. All right, guys, social media links are down below if you made it to the end of this video and you hear me say this. If you got any questions that you want to ask me related to tips or whatever about your car or anything like that, ask them down in the comments below. If you DM me car questions, I'm just going to ignore you. All right, guys, my DMs are, if you want to have a casual conversation that doesn't lead to you asking questions about your car, that's fine. I'm okay to ask, talk to you like that. If you got business related questions, if you got business you want to talk, you hit me up in the DMs. But if you just got questions, ask comments below. All right, guys, thanks for watching and peace.